A lot of the land expansion that Palestinians complain about, and potentially the Armenian community as well, is that it's not the government of Israel that is expanding, but it is private companies that are buying up property, buying up land. Can you explain that a little bit to us? Because I think a lot of people believe that it's the Israeli government, for example, that is creating settlements and buying up property in Jerusalem, but it's more complicated than that. There's a lot of players involved with that same agenda. Would you say that's
Of course,
accurate?
that is accurate. It's much more complicated than that, but the Israeli government does have a hand in this. I mean, they've kind of privatized, in a way, the settlement industry, where they act through different private companies, so they are not targeted by the different states and by the diplomatic pressure. So they use private companies for further encroachments on lands that are beyond the 1967 line. So the Jerusalem municipality, and we will see when we talk about the deal how they are involved, and the Jerusalem Development Authority, known as Harli, is also very involved in these issues and in these land grabs, so to speak.
So explain to us what Cow's Garden is and why it's important to the Armenian community.
So Cow's Garden represents actually about 20% of the Armenian quarter of Jerusalem. It's known as the Cow's Garden because there actually used to be cows over there and other animals. Um, it was later also used by the pilgrims for a very long time, by Armenian pilgrims who used to come in their caravans and tents and stay there. It's an open area. It is located in the old city of Jerusalem. It is the most strategic point of the old city because it is the highest point. And when you start understanding the old city of Jerusalem, where when you see pictures, it's all houses. Uh, how do you say? Houses. It's a quite dense area. The old city is
Hmm.
very dense with homes, so the open areas are very rare. So they
Right.
have been specifically and continuously targeted by the authorities, by these private companies, and so on. It is also important to mention that the Cow's Garden is directly adjacent to the Armenian convent of St. James, which houses three Armenian churches, the St. James Cathedral, where the head of Santiago de Compostela lies. His body is in Spain, a major pilgrimage site for Christians all over the world. And it is also adjacent to the Armenian seminary. So the Armenian communal life and ecclesiastic life is under threat when the Cow's Garden is taken away from the hands of Armenians.
So my understanding is there have been for quite a long time attempts to purchase Cow's Garden or it's being leased, right? That's the land is going to be not purchased but leased for 99 years.
Yes, to be more specific, it's 98 years. It's 49 years and automatically renewable unless the other side, the private company, does not wish it. So during the past 30, 40 years, there has been immense pressure, even from the Jerusalem municipality and other private companies, to acquire that land through different means. But up until now, the patriarchate had not succumbed to these pressures. It's also important to note that it was a huge contention point between the Israelis and Palestinians during the Camp David Accords, when in 2000 Yehud Barak with Yasser Arafat and Bill Clinton these were the closest. These negotiations were one of the most important, and they were the closest to reaching a deal. But the major issues remained, of course, the old city of Jerusalem, but more specifically the Armenian quarter of Jerusalem,
Hmm.
because the Israeli side wanted to split the Armenian quarter in half, whereas Arafat back then famously said, "I am Arafatian," the famous Armenian suffix of yan, to express his solidarity with the Armenian quarter and with his opposition to the splitting of the Armenian quarter. And he said the Armenian quarter shall remain next to its brother quarters, the Christian quarter and the Muslim quarter, as part of a future Palestinian state. The second major issue in these negotiations were the right of return of Palestinians, which amount to today to 5 million Palestinian refugees. So you can see the weight that is given to the Armenian quarter and the strategic and geopolitical importance it has.
What does this developer want to do with the land? He wants to build a hotel. What kind of,
Officially, they yeah.
yeah, I mean,
Officially, they say it's a seven-star hotel. That's how it was marketed by the defrocked priest.
I didn't know there was
I
such a
don't know if
thing.
they exist. Yeah,
Yeah, 7-star hotel. Wow.
exactly.
Okay.
So even their rating system is off the chart. But
Right.
so on paper, the deal goes as such. It's 11,500 square meters, which includes the cows garden, and which is the large parking area. So after being used for cows, that area was actually parking for the Armenian community. Um, and so this includes the large parking area, but also the Patriarchate's private parking, the Patriarchate's private garden, the hall of the seminary, and also 5 Armenian homes, 5 Armenian family homes.
And do they intend to demolish all of that and to build this 7-star hotel?
Well, if the plan goes according to their wishes, yes, there will be demolition of all these areas. And I mean, to just grasp the severity of this problem is that the Armenian Patriarchate's garden, for example, private garden, is right beneath the Armenian Patriarchate, the seat of the Armenian Patriarch of Jerusalem, and the seminary hall is 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 uh, is stuck to the Armenian seminary, to the Armenian theological life. So there's a very big danger for Armenian life once more, for the community, for the church members.
Yeah, who do they envision would stay in a hotel in the Armenian quarter?
I mean, look, if a hotel were to actually be built there, it would have huge success. You know, the Cow's Garden is directly bordering the ramparts of the old city, and it has amazing views of Jerusalem. As I said, it is on the highest point of the old
Uh,
city of Jerusalem. But
right.
the problem is that is it going to be a hotel? That's the big question, because there are a lot of clauses in the contract that suggest otherwise. For example, first there's a clause about the use of adjacent lands, which is very terrifying, which permits the private company to use adjacent lands, but the adjacent lands are not mentioned in any way as to where they end. And also because there's a clause of transferability, and this is the most dangerous clause. It means this company can transfer the land to a third party without even the consent of the Armenian Patriarchate, only with
Uh,
a written notice to the Armenian Patriarchate. So these 2 points actually are the very dangerous, along with the fact that, as I said, these are very shady business people, shady companies, and the location. Once more, we live in Jerusalem. This is not Switzerland. This is not France. This is the most contested and disputed piece of territory. This is a thrice holy city, and there is an occupation after 1967. This is according to international law. Jerusalem is occupied, and uh, under international law also there is a strict there is a huge effort to keep the status quo as it is until they reach a final deal during negotiations, which would include the two-state solution with the Palestinian and Israeli state living side by side.
and where do the Armenians see themselves in this? Because you're a distinct group. You're not Arab. You're not Jews. You're this. You speak a
Yes.
what language do you speak? All three languages? Do you speak? What is your
I speak
primary?
actually 6 languages, but
Okay.
my mother tongue is Armenian. And then I went to a French school. I'm also a French citizen. So I speak French, English, and then Arabic, Hebrew, which are the local languages. And I've learned Spanish and so on in school.
What do you use mostly in your daily life?
In the Armenian Quarter and in my daily life, Armenian is the most used language. I mean, we've been able to preserve our identity and our culture, and mainly thanks to the walls of the Armenian convent and to the integrity of the Armenian Quarter. And also because of the neutral stance we've kept throughout the centuries. We don't feel the need to be involved in the conflict. Although, I'm going to be honest with you, some Armenians feel a bit Israeli, a small minority. A small minority feels Palestinian Armenian, as I do, but the vast majority feels they consider themselves as Jerusalemite Armenians.
Right.
Uh, they use the term Jerusalemite Armenians
Okay.
to exclude any kind of political connotation. So that is how we've actually been able to keep our traditions, our identity, our culture, and also we don't feel the need to be a part of the political issues because we've been there also for a very long time, if not one of the longest uh, presence in Jerusalem is the Armenian presence. It dates back to 2 millennia at least, and the Armenian Patriarchate is a 1600-year-old institution. So we don't feel obligated to justify our presence apart from our national Armenian identity.
Who issues your papers? Do you have a passport? Are you a national citizen of Israel? Are you a citizen of Jordan? Right. Yeah, I know you have French papers, but what is
Yes.
the typical
So I'm
person
yeah.
in? Yeah, go ahead.
So I'm a French citizen, but most Armenians have the status of Jerusalemite Palestinians. It means they have the
Okay.
blue ID, they have the Jordanian passport without full Jordanian rights, and
Hmm.
they have the Israeli travel document, laissez-passer, without full Israeli citizen rights.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
it is a quite difficult situation, but a small minority also has Israeli citizenship.
Okay. Okay. And this is something important, I think, for the audience to understand is that there are three separate, distinct sort of groups inside the Holy Land region. So you have Israelis, obviously, who have Israeli passports and they can travel, and they're Israeli citizens, and that's pretty clean cut and clear. The other two groups, it's not quite as clear or as clean. So if you're a Palestinian living in the West Bank, like you're born in Bethlehem and you're born in the West Bank proper, what papers would you carry? You carry then Jordanian passports. How do they travel the world? Because they're technically stateless people.
Yeah, and it's very tough for them to travel, actually. Some have Jordanian and Palestinian citizenship. A lot of them have Palestinian citizenship, those in the West Bank
Okay, so
and Gaza. And in order,
if they have Palestinian citizenship, do they carry Palestine? Is there an actual Palestinian passport?
yes,
Yes.
it is.
Okay.
And it says State of Palestine. And this came, if I'm not mistaken, following the recognition by the General Assembly of over 135 states of the State of Palestine as an
Okay.
observer member. But this came following that.
So it's fair. So actually, on that side, it's fairly clear as well. These are Palestinian citizens of the state of Palestine. The issue is when they want to
Yes,
travel, there is no Palestinian airport, so they have to get to a Jordanian airport in order to travel. And so Jordan has to give them special permissions or travel documents, or how do they get out of Palestine?
exactly. So they have a border with Jordan, which is also controlled by Israel, by the way. There are also others which are not, and they have to cross into Jordan and use the Jordanian airports to travel abroad. Uh,
So does
Obviously,
Jordan
this
give them a
applies only to the.
special? Does Jordan give them special like papers in order to go cross their borders to use their airport?
I mean, they can cross it with the Palestinian passports. You know,
Okay,
some also have Jordanian passports, as I said, and some even have foreign passports. You know, Chilean and other
sure,
European passports. But
sure.
because they're of Palestinian descent, they have to go through Jordan to travel. Until recently, even the U.S. citizens. But maybe you've heard that there was a trial period where they would be able to leave from Israeli airports. The U.S. citizens, Palestinian descent.
Right, yeah, the Palestinian Americans who are
Yeah,
living in the West Bank.
exactly.
Um, I've explained this on this show a couple of times, but the when you're an American and and you go into the Holy Land area into Israel, you can go anywhere you want as an American. You can travel anywhere you want. But when they figure out, I've found out that when the Israeli government finds out that the American is a Palestinian of Palestinian descent, could have been born in America, doesn't matter, born and raised in
Yes,
America, sounds like me with accents. They when they figure it out, then they say, "Oh, wait a minute, now you're different," and they actually
yes, this
limit
is
the travel, the ability of movement for these American citizens who are living in the West
exactly.
Bank. Yeah,
They
which is
even
very
deny their
controversial.
entry through. They even deny their entry through Israeli ports of entries. So ports of entries.
And they don't even let
But
them go to
this is
Jerusalem to visit family members who might be living in Jerusalem. So then let's explain Jerusalem, because Jerusalem has its. So then Jerusalem is truly stateless. If you're not an Israeli Jerusalemite, because Israeli Jerusalemites have Israeli citizenship, but the
exactly.
Armenians, the the Palestinians living in Jerusalem
Mhm.
are actually stateless. Is that right? And they just
Yes,
carry like green cards in their own countries. Like families have
exactly.
been there for hundreds of years.
Other Christian minorities as well, and Armenians. Most of us came in 1915 after the Armenian genocide. Most of us are descendants of survivors of the Armenian genocide. So we've been here for 100 years, but still, we are issued permanent residencies and not citizenship, and we don't have full rights. That's the fact of the matter.
cbdistillery.com. You guys, it is finally here. Black Friday. The Black Friday sale is on, and it is really great. You can get up to 40% off everything when you use the code BF for Black Friday. Black Friday, so BF 2023 is the code you use at checkout, and that link and that information is down below. But choose from a range of expert formulated CBD and other plant-based solutions for relaxation, stress, sleep, and pain after physical activity, even mood and focus. People absolutely rave about their sleep tinctures and gummies. So imagine that, a calm mind, deep sleep throughout the whole night. It sounds amazing. No artificial colors, flavors, preservatives, or sweeteners, just 100% clean ingredients. So don't miss this massive sale and get up to 40% off your order. Visit cbdistillery.com and enter BF2023. That's cbdistillery.com. Enter that code BF2023 to get 40% off. And unfortunately, this is not available in Idaho, Iowa, and South Dakota.